Hello everyone, and welcome back to another one with me, Miss Whitney B. Make sure I turn it up all the way. I noticed I had a video or two before that were not as turned up as they could have been, so the sound quality wasn't as good as it could have been, so I hope this is better. So today I'm coming to you with a video that is a sacred vision that I received back in the spring of 2020. I want to say about March or April. So before we get into it, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And remember, when you're sharing, share with like-minded beings. Please don't be rude or oppressive. Like if somebody, this isn't their jam, don't share it with them. But if it is, or you think it could be, ask and then share. Because it's always so helpful for me to get my videos around and get more and more people who can see them and use them for their own growth, whether that be contrast or food for thought or planting seeds, or maybe it actually has a helpful hint or tool. So, Sacred Vision Breadcrumb. So I also have the gift of mediumship where I can speak with spirits who've passed on. They come forward and give me messages. Well, my good friend over at Soul Deep Intuition, her mom comes to visit ever so often, like when we're talking on the phone and stuff, and we'll just bring messages. Well, my friend was telling me about the night before when her mom she had actually gone to visit her mom because she'd been calling to her spiritually and she wasn't coming. And so she was like, I wonder where my mom is. And so she went and told, and while in dream state, consciously went and sought her mom out and found her. Well, as she's telling me about this vision and what her mom and her were talking about, her mom came forward and told me to follow her. And so I said, oh, okay, where are we going? And she said, well, you'll see. And so then, boom, I'm in this, what appears to me, think about a Costco, right? I don't know if any of you have ever been to a Costco, but it's like a giant ass warehouse, okay? Now, strip it of everything and just fill it with light. And it's this big glowing room, okay? And the way that I was seeing this, the closest thing I can relegate or relegate it to or make it close to here, like as a conceptual concept, is like a hospital, but it's not a hospital. Not how we actually perceive it. There's no like medicine being administered there, but there is a bunch of souls over there. Okay, and everybody's like bebopping around, going about their business. And what I was like kind of tripping about it because they look regular, right? Everybody looks to be about 30 years old. Everybody's in like jeans and some form of shirt or skirt or whatever they want to wear that's comfortable, but there's no like uniform. But everybody's hustling and bustling around. So what I noticed was who was there working had like this hustle bustle to them, okay? And then everybody else who wasn't working did not have a hustle bustle to them. So she takes me into this Costco warehouse, right? And the room is filled with light. And then there's babies as far as my eyes can see. I mean, I'm literally I turned all the way around in the room and it's just babies everywhere, right? And she's talking to me because Laverne's like, I don't know what she's doing and I don't know why she's answering my calls when I call to her 5D energetically. She usually comes right away, right? And her mom is got 3 babies on her hips as she's talking to me. And I'm like, conceptually or in the physical realm, that's not a thing, right? But in spirit realm, there's no rules, there's no laws of physics, there's no gravity, it's not like that. And so she literally comfortably, and all the babies are comfortable, has 3 babies on her, and she's walking around telling me that this is the work that she's doing, that there's a huge baby boom coming. And she's telling me that it's going to be a trickle, trickle, gush, 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 trickle, 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 gush, 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 over the next 9 years or so. And she said it actually started in July of 2019, and she told me that it would end in 2029. And so I was like, okay. And I see babies as far as the eyes can see, right? There's just babies everywhere. And I'm looking around and there's all these different souls who are there caretaking. And like I said, they're embodied, like they look like they have bodies, right? But they weren't all human. First of all, they did not all look like me. They were varying ages, size, like ages meaning some species have a much larger length of age than we do. We live on average, between 60 and 85 years, 90, something like that. I'm sorry, guys, I don't really know statistics, but some of these beings were thousands of years old. And they all looked, not everybody, but many looked different. They were obviously very different, varying forms. Like I for sure saw Palladians. I saw some, I don't know what this being was. It had a really long head and it came up like this and it was kind of blue. It was blue. It wasn't kind of blue. It was blue. And it had these beautiful big eyes that came up like this and these markings, and the forehead was really long and large and extended like this, but not like a cone head, not the same. But anyway, she was there caretaking, and I looked at her and she spoke to me in my mind, and she said that all souls who are coming to earth get small before they come to earth if they're doing it this way. And I was like, okay. Makes sense why there's so many babies, because we're going to have such a boom, right? And that's what Laverne's mom had been, or Soul Deep Intuition's mom had been telling me, is that there was going to be big booms, and all these different souls are here to help nurture the babies while they're getting small and going through their, like, I don't know how to put it, like regression, because they go from being full, like 30-year-old looking souls to being babies. And it's like a process of becoming. It's not just instant. And then all of these souls who are like, what do I want to say? Like soul family members, spirit guides, some versions of higher self were there. And then different, like, when I say soul family members, I mean like souls that you travel with in lifetimes and that they're like, you're really close to. We have these groups of souls we do that with. And there were all of these different groups of souls in, but like I said, again, Palladians, Arcturians, Centurions, there was like a feline species there as well, and then some other species. But again, this was no big deal. Like I didn't really question it until I came back into my physical body and was like processing my human, with my human intelligence as much as I could. And I was just like, whoa, mind blown. But anyways, so we're walking around and she takes me all the way around and I'm talking to these different souls, and it's not, none of this is like actual speaking through our mouths. This is all mental sharing, telepathy, communication. And we're looking, and she's just telling me about how all these different souls are going to be coming in. Different soul groups are going to have different plans. But she told me that all of these children, the children are coming in, the children of the twins. And so all these different groups of twins, of spiritual twins, are coming into union, and all these babies are going to be coming in. And what was really fascinating is that there was a section that was all twins. So literally physical twins, like children are going to be born at the same time, but then souls that are twin souls. And like mine, like Soul Deep Intuition, like many of us Lumerians and Palladian, like light seed workers who are here doing this work, we're twins, and there's more groups coming in to do the healing work, and we're anchoring that in. And she told me that they're the sunflower children, and that they were the children of the phoenixes. And I was like, whoa, because I learned, oh my goodness, I want to say back in fall 2019, winter 2020, about how we were called the phoenixes, and that my group is called the phoenixes, and that we were burning the old paradigm, and then the new growth would come, and the children were going to be the birth of that growth, of that rebirth of the phoenix, of the cycle of the fire, burning the old systems. And so I was like, a lot of this was just like hitting me, boom, 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 boom. And so I was like, whoa, this is cool. Like, this is so much confirmation. I had watched a couple of videos from Conscious Evolution Journey, who's another YouTuber, and oh my gosh, I've been working with her through her channel and her readings and stuff for the last year, and there's been so much activation. And so that really, actually, it's been over a year now. It's been almost 2. But all these seeds that had already been planted through readings and different experiences I'd had. I also had already, before I'd done this vision, I'd already had many visions. I've already traveled. I've traveled to Pleiades. I've spoken with the Galactic Council. I'd done all these things already, but I hadn't done them on a consistent basis. And starting in fall of 2019 into the winter of 2020, these things started really taking root and expanding. And so I'm here having this vision, and all these things are kind of like pricking my mind of like, oh, okay, this is a breadcrumb. That was the original seed that was planted was a breadcrumb to this, and all this vision is bringing all these different things together. And I'm like, whoa, this is so fucking cool. So I'm following her around, and she's telling me all this stuff, and there are a bunch of different beings doing what she's doing with these different children all over her. And it was amazing because I was seeing babies being talked to. I was watching babies get getting smaller. There were toddlers, and it's funny because it was like a giant nursery, but there was this beautiful music playing, and it was all glowing, and it was so warm and so loving. Like I was emotional about it because of how good it felt and how inspiring it was. Now she's like, this is what I've been doing. I'm busy. I've got a lot going on. We all are. She told me that while it was very quiet on the planet because of everything that was going on with what we were doing and how we were getting ready to really tear down these old paradigms, they needed us to sit in the stillness and to listen and to learn how to listen to ourselves and our higher selves. And that while we were down here being quiet, there was a huge hubbub going on in this dimension, the dimension before we come in here. Right? And so I was like, wow, this is amazing. And she's like, there's just so much to do. There's just so much to do. So tell my daughter that I won't be able to visit her for a little while, but that I'm always with her. I'm always thinking of her. And so I'm like, okay, I can do that. Cool. I'll store that in the back of my mind. And I told Spirit, like, don't let me forget to tell Laverne, or tell her this and to remind me, because oftentimes when I'm channeling, my mental mind isn't active, and so I'm not holding on to the information. And so when I want to remember something, I tell Spirit, like, hey, Spirit, help me to remember that, like plant that seed again so that I can recall it, or have it, if you guys will please bring it to me then, if I can't recall it, or if it's not to be stored, because that's also fine. Sometimes things aren't meant to be stored in our body, and we do not want to hold on to energy. And so I'll just like tell Spirit, just like help me remember that, or bring it back to me in perfect timing, whatever. Thank you, not whatever, but thank you, and so it is, and then leave it done. Well, then she continues to show me around. Well, as we're coming around this last little corner of this room, and really it's not little, but again, time, space, like I wasn't tired, even though this room was huge. It was bigger than a football field by far, and it was probably 2 to 3 times in width the size of a football field, as well as then like lengthwise all the way down, line all 3 up. But again, so it could be big or small, it doesn't matter, all of it will still fit no matter what. And again, so it's like very dimensionally not the same as here. Space, time, none of that is the same at all. And so all of a sudden we come around this, and I'm looking at all of these beautiful babies, and I can see them, and I can see, again, many of them, some were human, but many were not. Many were not. And I've seen a lot of different children, a lot of Pleiadian children. Pleiadian is a collective I come from. And so maybe I was particularly drawn to those children because, that's my starseed origin. But as we came around this certain part, there was a huge glowing beacon of light, and I was like, whoa, what's that? And I started to walk towards it, and she grabbed me and was like, no, you can't go over there. We need to go over here. There's so much more to show you. And I was like, but that feels warm. That it actually, like the space, that area felt really warm to me. Like my heart, it literally, like it was going, the energy was going directly into my heart and pulling me that way. And so I was like, what is that? I want to go see what that is. And she said, no. She goes, I have much more to show you. Come. And so I wanted to fight her, but then I felt this overwhelming push to just go. And so I'm like, okay, there's much more to see. And Spirit's like, we remember, like we want you to take note, and then we want you to share it back. And I'm like, okay, well, help me to remember whatever needs to be remembered so I can go through, or I can share it back. And so all of a sudden, she's put the babies. I didn't see her put the babies down, but the babies are no longer with her. And there's these other beings like walking around in the room, and we're coming now to these double doors that open into what looks like a kind of like a nurse's station or a hospital station. You know, like when you go in, not at the reception area, but when you go into a certain like unit, you know, and there's like that little round area, but it was tall. Nobody's sitting, everybody's standing and hustling, bustling. And then there's like this book, but it's changing really fast, and there's like information coming in, and people are dropping information into it as well, and it's like it's so weird because it's like absorbing into it, and then more information is popping back up. It's very interesting. Kind of reminds me of like Harry Potter and the Quill. I think it's like, what is it? Book 5 or movie 5, where the like atrocious cat lady uses that pen that takes their blood and like imprints upon them. So it was like that, but none of the gory like taking your blood, but the way that it like wrote into it and then appeared, disappeared, then appeared, and then more information appeared. It was very fascinating. But she shifted my attention again, because again, now I'm taking awareness that there's 3 sections of this what appears to be like a hospital, but again, no nurses, no doctors, no medicine, no IVs, no sick people, nothing like this. Okay. And so she closes the doors, or the doors of the baby room is now closed, and I see this other area lit up, and it's like floor after floor after floor after, and I don't know how I can tell you this, but it is. It's like a, you know, like an apartment in New York where they're like, you know, 50 feet tall or whatever, like a ridiculous feet tall, and there's just floor after floor after floor after floor after floor. Okay, and so I'm looking at that, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Well, all of a sudden, I feel called into this room, so I walk into this room. And there's all these beautiful beings standing around what I perceive as a bed, a hospital bed. And there's a person or a soul who keeps flickering in and out of the bed. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? This is fascinating. Excuse me, I need to get a little water real quick. So this person, this soul, keeps flickering in and out of this bed. And these beings that are standing all around, person I'm standing here, where I would be standing right in front of me, like where my camera is the person in the bed. Right here is a bunch of different spirits, loved ones, again, looking physically embodied, loving them, telling them how happy they are to see this person, and how much they love them, and how glad they are that they're coming back, and that all the things that they're working on, or that what's going on in this dimension, and like just how much this person, so much love, you guys. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Like how much they're proud of this person. This person's done a great job, and what a good experience, and how much they brought to the collective, and just really honoring and loving the soul, point blank, like saying really beautiful, loving, kind, just generous, heartwarming things to this soul. And as this soul is coming in and out, I ask, well, why are they coming in and out, right? And then boom, I'm back in this dimension, but only like looking into it, and I can see the person in a hospital bed on this side of the veil or dimension, and they're in the hospital here, but hooked up to machines, and the beeping, and their loved one is all around them, crying and telling them how much they love them, and how happy they are that this person was in their life and had built the life that they did, and all these people, these beautiful people, had gotten to be a part of it, and how much love and care and kindness and generosity that this soul had brought to their lives. And they were telling the soul that it was okay to go home, and that they were just so grateful and so loving, and they were telling beautiful memories of all the different times this soul had been loved to them. And this was this soul's children. There was this soul's, it was like maybe even a partner or some kind of, romantic loved one, and then children, and then grandchildren, and all these just, like, I feel like cousins or uncles or brothers, just family members and friends, all standing around this beautiful soul on this side where we are, telling them how much they love them, and how good of a life it was, and how like their life wouldn't have been the same without him, and how he just brought so much joy and peace and love, and how what a good father he was, and how caring and protective and loving he was. And they were telling stories about when he was teaching them to drive, and different like rituals that they would do for holidays and things like that, and just how funny he was. And again, just love, so much love. And there was so much love in this room. And so as he was fading, again, I was witnessing that side. I jumped back to the other dimension that I was in previously, watching him then come back to the other side. And I'm standing there and just in awe of the overwhelming amount of love. It was so beautiful. And with Earth having been, with this dimension being where it has been, my soul was a little sad. It was that, the Great Awakening was not easy. I went through too many dark nights of the soul to purge deeply, 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 deeply. I had just gone into full separation with my twin, and I was really struggling, but I had finally gotten to a place of acceptance and surrender, and just letting everything be good enough. It's going to work out however it works out, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, and that's okay too. And so to be feeling that immense amount of love, it brought me to tears. I was very emotional about it because it felt so pure and loving. But anyway, so as this soul is fully then regaining solidness in this in the healing center on the other side, or in this other dimension, I'm watching him finally fully come into the bed, and I'm like, oh wow, he lived a good life. He was an old man. He was 90, and these souls standing around him on this dimension where he's anchoring into, to go on after having lived this earth life. And they're just telling him, what a good man he was, and what a good life he lived, and how much light he had seeded, and just how beautiful of a journey it was, and how they were so excited for him to be back, even though it was just a blink for them. It was just good to have him back. It felt like homecoming. There was no remorse, no sadness, no jealousy or anger or fear or frustration or envy. None of that at all. Just yay, you're back. Let's go. And so I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so then, even more amazing, the man starts sitting up. And I'm watching him get younger and younger in front of my eyes. So as he first comes in, he looks 90. Well, then as he sits up, he's looking 80, 85, 80. And then he's leaning up, and he's fully sitting there. And then he's 70 and 65. And then as he turns to get out of the bed, he's in his late 50s or early 50s. And then boom, he's getting up. By the time he hits the door, he's 30 years old again, fully refreshed, in a new outfit, and off, literally had a clipboard and was off to go take care of things that needed to be taken care of. Because again, just like my friend's mom had said, there was a lot to do on the other side. There was a lot of hubbub. And so I kind of took in that experience. I stood in the room and was just like, wow, this is awesome. This is amazing. And she told me, as I looked to my friend's mom, she told me, she said, so this is what happens when the soul doesn't have to be healed when they come back. So if a soul is not too traumatized by what happened here on the physical world or in this dimension, then they just go back to the other side and transition right back in like it's nothing. But if a soul does not, and they need the healing, then they'll be put into the catacombs and receive the healing that they need. And that's with angels, and there's a whole nother level to that. But that wasn't in this center that I went into. And it was kind of like a receiving processing center. Again, I don't have good terminology, but that's as close as I can get to at this time. This is the best idea of what I have for it. So then I'm watching this happen, and I'm watching this is happening on every level, right? All these different beings coming back and going to and from. And so what I also learned is that not everybody was coming from Earth. And so yes, duh, right? But again, it was a similar process of anchoring back into that dimension, and then healing and keeping it pushing. And it's not really healing, but it is a full anchoring. And there is the vibration there is so high, so loving. Again, it's so pure that it's instantly charges you up. instantly, like I felt a complete charge up through my whole entire body. All my hair was standing up, but in a very good way, like very good. I felt very free. I felt very light. I felt very like endless, boundless. And so I'm looking at all these different people coming home, or beings coming home. And again, this would just happen over and over again. Beings just coming in, laying in the bed, getting up, going out. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, then there's another part. So I shift. I come back out of the rooms where I'm watching these beings come back, and I walk back over to my friend's mom, and she's like, so that's the process. And I'm like, that's really cool. And she's like, yeah, that's cool, right? And she says, but there's one more place. And I said, oh, and I look over, and actually, she didn't tell me there was one more place. I said there was one more place, and she told me, yes, there was one more place. And as we look over, there's this gateway, okay? Gateway, like, and it's not like a gateway, but kind of. Like, it's like a big arched doorway, okay? And there's 2 angels guarding each side, and they look very serious. And I was just like, okay. And then there's this, like, there's these 3 portals. Actually, there's a lot more than 3. There was, like, a shit ton of portals, okay? But, like, we're going to say 3 because those were the first 3 I seen. But as I came upon them, there was many portals. And there was a crack in the ground where all of this, what appeared to be water, when I first saw it, I thought they were surfers because they were like riding waves, and they were like, you know, doing this, and boom, they'd be gone. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I walked over and I said, I asked if I could enter the room, and they told me yes, I could enter the room, but they told me not to touch the water. And I said, okay, not to touch the water. They said, yes, because we can't get you back. And I was like, okay. So I'm looking at these surfers, and I'm looking at this water, and I realize they're portals, they're dimensions that they're jumping. Okay, and these are jumpers. Jumpers go into bodies without being born. So they don't go through the veil, so that they can remember everything. They remember everything. They don't get cut off from the knowledge like we do when we get born. And so I'm watching this all happen, right? And I'm watching them, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, whoa. Okay, so I've heard of this before. Okay, and I'm trying to like process it and just take it in. And I'm sitting there, and again, the energy is very, very strong. Well, as I walk into the room, it's all open. There's big open space here, but there's like a holes, or not like a hole, but like a river in the ground, but it's not big, it's little, it's like a stream like this. And I come up to one, and I got told again, don't touch it. And I'm like, is it the flow of time? What is it? Like, I'm trying to understand, and kind of. So there's, again, I don't like how to put it in the best terms. Like, this is, again, just what I experienced. So I'm not going to say that I know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't. This is just like how I can like physically express what I saw. So the water was like blue and white, and it looked electrically charged. Kind of like, you know how when waves come crashing down, how it gets that like blue, white, foamy kind of look? And it looks really powerful. Okay, it would like that, but there's no waves. But where the surfers are, there's waves. And they're sitting on them. And it's like, so I didn't see anybody get into the waves either. That was the trippiest thing, is it was like portals going to all the different dimensions, because there's like a million dimensions, right? I don't know, literally a million, probably. I don't know how many dimensions there are, but like they were going to so many different dimensions. And at one point I counted 8, and then I counted 12. And so there was probably an immense amount, and I was just like, it was just what I could physically understand or conceptualize. And then they would go, boom, and they'd be gone. And then there'd be another one, and then boom, they'd be gone, and then boom, they'd be gone. And so I asked the angels, I wanted to understand, and they told me that my mental mind would not be able to physically truly understand that basically these are the beings that are coming in from different dimensions and then going into different dimensions, and they're going in without having been born. Because Earth is not the only dimension you go to, quote unquote, get born into. There are many of them. And these souls are the ones that are coming in to seed the planet without losing their knowledge of everything that they already know. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I've heard of these are what I heard of them as is walk-ins. And the reason I heard of them is because I knew, I've listened to a spiritual teacher before talk about how she was a walk-in, and she walked in during one of the earthquakes in the 90s in LA, and she woke up and came into the body, and the soul that was originally in the body was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done and leaving. And she's like, sweet. So she took the body and then went off to go live this life. And she said, but while the body still has some memories, it has this knowing and this way of being, she was not the original person, the original soul that inhabited the body. And so the people around her didn't really know her, didn't really recognize her. And she had to go through this whole process of acceptance, and then like either like sharing with them or letting it be okay, or just not and leaving them be. And so I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. I've heard of this as well. And so Spirit, when I was asking to wrap it all up, she was telling me, I said, so what is the point of this? And she said, the point of this is that this is the in-between dimensions. This is where we go to come in or to come back. And so the babies getting small are the babies that are going to be coming in the next basic 10 years. And then the soul surfers, they're always doing that. And there are many other centers just like this one that she was showing me all over. And she said that this is a place that souls come to do the work, to help set things up and to help organize. Because when we go back to the other side, we go right back to work. Like you're not tired. You're always working, always working, always working. And so she was talking about how that is the work that she's doing. And also it's a way that she's paying back karmic debt. And so it was a way to have like a win-win situation where she was being of service as her soul to all the souls here, and all the souls coming and going, as well as paying debt back by being of service to some of the souls here on this planet that she felt she owed debt to. Because again, we don't owe debt. There is no karmic debt for real. But if a soul feels that, then they can choose to take action upon that and do things of service on that side. And she had said that she caused irreparable, I don't know, damage that created a ripple that affected things that she didn't realize on that level, and that she was doing the work on that side to anchor it in here to do the healing work for the souls that she had owed this debt in her mind. And I was just like, oh wow, this is really cool. And so she told me that things were going to stay quiet down here for a little while longer, but that when the big boom came, we would all see it, and that it would be happening in different spurts. And so there would be big spurts where babies are coming in and souls are going home, and then it'll kind of slow down, and then it'll go again, and then again cycles on and off. And for the children particularly, that'll happen till 2029, she said. But for a lot of souls coming and going, the main part of that will happen till 2025, 2026. And so I was like, wow, that's so cool. I've known about these centers. Sylvia Brown talked about them, and when I was about, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, something like that, I really got into all of Sylvia Brown's book. And I don't know if it's this side or the other, Life on the Other Side or something like that, but one of her books talked about that. And I always thought it would be amazing. And she talked about a lot of things that I had experienced. And I thought like, oh, wow. And so when I actually saw the vision of the babies and the soul surfers and the beings coming and going, I saw it on a whole nother level. And I was like, oh, those were the seeds. And so, yeah, it was amazing. It's one of the most beautiful and awe-inspiring things I had ever seen or physically experienced. Actually, there's so many of them. Like, that's the beautiful thing about awakening, is once we fully align to who we really are, all of these beautiful visions and truths and knowings of who we've been and where we've come from and what we've gone through as a soul come in so strongly. I'm just like, I'm in awe, you guys. It's so beautiful. So thank you for joining me on this beautiful Sacred Vision breadcrumb, and for allowing me to share and be love and light with you guys. If you have anything you'd like to share about similar situations or different visions you've seen or experienced, I would love to hear about it. I love hearing about the other dimensions. I think it's so beautiful. And I do have some more that I will be sharing. I will be talking to you guys about my trip to the Galactic Council. That was pretty tight. But yeah, so if you guys have any breadcrumbs you guys get, or any synchronicities or seeds that have been planted that have evolved into plants and you understand now on a different level, I would love to hear about it. One of my good friends always loves to say the puzzle pieces as they come. And so how are the puzzle pieces aligned for you? All right, guys, thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you on another one. Good night, or good day, or good morning, or good afternoon, or wherever you are. I wish you well. Talk to you soon.